Bro, we've spent billions of dollars on cancer research, and somehow we're still having the same conversations.
Okay.
For research, we've terminated $3.8 billion into cancer, HIV, ALS, and maternal health. Important.
Bro, it's like cancer literally has been around for so long, and there was never like you always hear this, and how much money total has been funded into cancer research and things like that since over the past, let's say, like 25 years? 249 million 2017, 241, 242. So kind of the same. It got a pretty decent increase in 2023. Breast cancer 545. So here we're over a billion here. We're at these two here, another billion, like probably 1.2 billion roughly between those. Then we have 2.3-ish billion total here. And then another half billion. So maybe like what, 3.7-ish billion from 2017 to 2023. And that's six years, that much money. It's like, how, I don't understand, why does it take so much money to research this, and we don't, like, billions upon billion. And I think the answer really is, well, yeah, I mean, throw some, like I said before, throw some money at it. People want their cut of the pie, and they want a pretty large cut usually. And on top of that, I think the answer really could probably be reduced to like more homeopathic things, like, oh, let's not put plastic in our food. Let's not have microplastics in our water supply. Let's have people eat actually healthy food instead of red 6 and blue 5 and all these other fake artificially produced ingredients. Let's have people get outside more. It's just like, I think that would be a big game changer. If the food was addressed and like plastic microparticles were addressed, I think that would really be a big game changer. I want to see. Okay, so tons, and that's just one type of cancer too, remember. So that's like, what did I say, 3.8 billion roughly? And then add up, if you'd add up all the different types of cancer, I mean, dude, it's a ridiculous amount of money that gets pumped into cancer research every year. And guess what? We still don't have an absolute cure to it. So, I wonder why that is, huh? Could people be scheming and taking money off, and they know it's more profitable to keep people sick than it is to actually fix them and heal them? So it goes back to the option A and option B that I talked about before. So, yeah, that's just messed up. And then it's like the whole HIV/AIDS thing. Same thing there. And then Magic Johnson dumps like this. I remember the South Park episode. They're like, oh, yeah, how to cure HIV. Just throws a bunch of money in a blender and they turn it on. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, $100 million later. Yeah, you're one of the only people that we've like cured from this. Oh, crazy, isn't it? Like, I remember, that episode was so funny. But yeah, let's see here.
Subjects. The entire NIH CDC budgets have been cut in half. We've created an issue where in the Environmental Protection Agency for the Office of Research, we fired over 1,000 scientists who do that research to figure out if there's toxic pollutants that cause negative health outcomes. We've cut the CDC branch for environmental health tracking for lead and water safety. We've canceled NIH diabetes prevention program that ran for 30 years. And we've eliminated the Federal Newborn Screening Advisory Committee. So that's just a few of them.
Okay. So considering all of that before, when we had all of that money, where did that get us? Look at the state of Americans' health, and you tell me that the public is actually healthy.
That's
what
a fair point.
Is doing
That's
is
what
he is saying,
I agree with that.
Is enough. Something has to change.
Yeah.
And I will say this very
100%.
politely, but I think that you have to be insane to say more is somehow going to get us out of the current public health crisis that we have right now. Americans are fat and they are sick.
True.
It is not
True.
getting better. And taking more
True.
and more money and continuing to flush it down the toilet is not going to solve
I agree
the
with
problem.
that.
We know what will stop cancer dead in its tracks. We know what will stop all chronic disease dead in its tracks. Do you know what it is?
Lifestyle changes?
Lifestyle changes. The American Heart Association has known about this.
Straight from the doctor's mouth himself. Guy making big bucks off this. Well, I don't want to be a liar, so yeah, lifestyle change. Exactly. That's what I've been saying, dude. Like, I think that's the main problem. People want to sit at home and be fat, and they want to eat terrible things that are making them fat and more fat. And then suddenly, you know, you have problems where your heart doesn't work right and you can't breathe and all things like that. And it's like, I wonder how we could get rid of that. Do we need to pump them full of medicine and this, or do they just need to maybe change what they eat and change how much they exercise and maybe go take a walk every once in a while and get outside, or instead of eating processed junk food, maybe eat some vegetables and lean protein and go hit the gym, you know, go on a nice walk, things like that. Get out some vitamin D outside. Like, I think would be a big changer. I think that would be the number one. I don't know this for sure, like medically, but in my opinion, I would say that would be the number one thing that would increase people's happiness, people's health, and their overall well-being and longevity for sure. That has to be number one.
This for years. The most important predictor of longevity, risk of chronic disease, all-cause mortality is VO2 max. So why aren't doctors,
So here's a fact check. According to Harvard, VO2 max is the measure of oxygen consumption during exercise. Higher oxygen levels lead to better fitness, longevity, and a lower risk of cardiovascular disease. Improving VO2 max has not been proven to stop all diseases. Well, yeah, I don't think it could do that, but it could probably help a lot of areas. And even shows here, lead to better fitness, longevity, two things I talked about, and a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, another thing I just talked about as well. So yeah, it's not going to prevent everything, but I mean, that would be big right there, like a big, big change. I wonder how many people have cardiovascular disease in the US. Heart disease is the leading cause of death for men, women, and people of most racial and ethnic groups. Oh, interesting. And lower risk of cardiovascular disease would be getting higher VO2 max, better fitness, better longevity. One person dies every 34 seconds from... I did not know that. That's actually insane. 2023, 919,000 people died from cardiovascular disease. That's the equivalent of one in every 3 deaths. Heart disease costs about $417.9 billion in 1 year. Costs that much. So that means someone's taking that money in as profit. This includes the cost of healthcare services, medicine, and lost productivity due to death. So big profit here for those people, and big profit here for those people. Loss of money here for whatever company they work for. Coronary heart disease is the most common type. Killed 371,000 people in 1 year. About 1 in 20 adults aged 20 or older have coronary artery disease. 5%. In the US, someone has a heart attack every 40 seconds. Every year, about 805,000 people in the U.S. have a heart attack. Of these, 605,000 are a first heart attack, and 200,000 happen to people who have already had a heart attack. About 1 in 5 heart attacks are silent, and the damage is done, but the person is not aware of it. Interesting. I didn't know that. So maybe, yeah, I wonder what's going on there. Oh, yeah, people are eating terrible food, and they're not exercising enough. Will probably be 2 big game changers to reduce these numbers drastically. That is so crazy. I didn't know this. Leading cause of death for men, women, and people of most racial and ethnic groups. Leading cause of death. And how can you change that? Stop being fat, go exercise, and stop being fat and eat healthier. Boom, right there. That's the answer. But let's see how many people actually do that. We'll see.
The government creating a public health system that says, you know what, we're going to focus on VO2 max, because even if we stopped every dollar we had, putting it into cancer research right now, and we took that money and we said, let's get people moving, let's increase their VO2 max,
Yep.
cancer is stopped dead in its tracks. So the question is, when is enough to admit that the system you are a part of has drastically failed Americans? And RFK Jr., by the very fact of how he looks in his 70s, does more to encourage people to live a healthy lifestyle and truly make America healthy again.
Very passionate.
True.
Absorbing core versus 3 Ps. Will it lead
Stupid
to
freaking
1
ads
P?
here. Let's get rid of that. Okay.
And I mean that with all sincerity, because
I mean, I'm not trying to be an ass. Like,
I don't think you are. I know you might feel like it's coming off aggressive, but I actually think it's passion. And it's passion that I share. I think lifestyle
fair.
changes are incredibly important. So in order to make these meaningful changes, in order to get people to eat healthier, to exercise more, that takes research dollars in order to figure out what programs work. Like in New York,
No, it
my,
doesn't.
home
do
state.
you really think it takes research dollars?
What?
Yeah, because
It's really simple. It's sunlight. It's being active. It's having
Bingo.
a healthy home environment.
Bingo.
It's eating food that comes from regenerative agriculture.
Yeah,
It's
surprise.
not rocket
That's
science.
crazy, isn't
It's
it?
really, really simple. But I think that the pharmaceutical industry tries to complicate it to make people question
I
it
agree with
so
that.
They run to their doctor. And I'll be very frank.
And
with you.
then
I
give
think
them
you
money.
have great intentions.
Exactly.
I really do. And I'm really
appreciate
glad that
that.
it's you sitting here, because I think part of the reason why these discussions get so heated is because both parties start thinking that the other party has bad intentions.
Sure.
I just think that you are a bit confused about where we should be putting our emphasis and putting our money.
So the difficulty, I know it sounds easy to say, let's get people moving, let's get people eating healthy.
It should be
So I
easy.
work at a community health center. It's near impossible to change behaviors as simply as you put it. I've launched a program during my residency program where I, as a physician,
Yeah, but it has to come from within, and that's the thing, is people are just allowed to be sloppy and lazy and sit around and not do anything, and then we create a culture around it where it's the whole what's it called? Giving the people that get last place, giving them a trophy for thing, even though they didn't win, they lost. But you still got to give them a participation trophy. It's the whole concept with that, and that's why our country, I think, is worse in a lot of ways, is because of that cult. Like, if you get last place, why should you get a trophy? Why? Like, even at a young age, like, oh, it's good. Well, it'd be better for them if they learned, you know what? You want rewards, you go put in the time and the effort, the hard work, the dedication, and you win, and then you get rewarded. You don't just get rewarded for existing. Like, that doesn't make any sense, and I think that's a large part of the problem. And then we have the whole thing where, oh, body positivity, and it's like, what's positive about being morbidly obese and you struggle to move and you eat junk food all day? Like, what's positive about that? Your skin is, gross and doesn't have like a gleam to it like some more healthy people have. Like, what's positive about that? I've never understood that. Like, what's positive? It's like, why should people want to be like that? Like, if you're a model, you should look a certain way. Like, you should have a certain, body type. Should be fairly thin, I would say. That looks good for most people. Like, they understand that. It's common sense. But it's like, no, we need people that are 10X, 10XL. They wear 10XL clothes. That's who we need to be models. And it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Literally makes no sense. Like, oh, that whole thing annoys me. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but we'll get back to this. Freaking ridiculous.
exercise with my patients. I brought them in to try and see if spending time with your doctor, exercising, getting them to do it safely was a way to get them motivated. And we saw some successes, but in order to have done that, we need to scale that. We need to trial that to see ultimately how behaviors change. For example, you've seen research where people say if you give people step counter and they walk 10,000 steps a day, they're healthier. Well, yeah, if you walk more, you move more, you're healthier.
Oh,
When
crazy,
we
huh?
actually looked at long-term research of getting people step counters,
So you've literally
it
just
didn't change
So
behavior.
you've literally just contradicted yourself. And
what way?
unless you're saying we need to take that money that RFK Jr. is cutting from the budget and we need to spend it on the approaches that we know work, then all you're doing is just supporting the system as is.
Did he take half the budget and make it for exercise?
Well, personally, I don't think that that's the government's role. And the reason
That's
why
fair.
the reason why I don't think it's the government's role is I'm going to tell you a story. And ultimately, this is what it comes down to. Okay, I was in a halfway house in Newark, New Jersey. Okay, I could leave the.
It's a rough area.
Because I was technically still an inmate.
I used to live in New Jersey, nowhere near there, but yeah, pretty rough area for sure. So
And I could go to my job, all right? If I veered from that path, I could literally go back to prison, okay? But eating healthy was so important to me that I broke the rules, went to Whole Foods, and bought healthy food on an $8 an hour job that the halfway house took 20%, and I still did not make excuses, and I found a way to eat healthy, okay?
and that's what it is right there. Mind over matter. If you really, really, really want something, you can find a way to do it. I believe that wholeheartedly. I mean, the perfect example. Left with $8 an hour and it's too expensive to eat healthy and this and that. And then this guy is literally, doing it. And I think portion control is a big part of it too. Like, I think we eat way too much, like way too big of portions here in America. I think that's a big problem. And I think it has been shown, I'm not entirely certain on this, but I believe it's been shown eating smaller portions more throughout the day is better, because it like used to be theorized like, okay, you have to eat three fairly large meals a day, and then you should be good. And then now it's like, well, it's actually better to eat maybe one large meal and 5 snacks throughout the day, 5 like smaller portions that have some protein and your healthy fats and things like that throughout the day that'll give you a better overall result for keeping the metabolism running the way it should and keeping, excess fat off your body. And then you do that coupled with working out, and then boom, crazy things happen. So yeah, I think that's
Doctors, the
good
federal
take there.
government, it's never going to instill that in people. And I think that it's wrong to really place that responsibility on you. You do not have the tools in your toolbox to effectively change behavior. And whether it's ego, I mean, like, I think you're a good
What
person.
tools are we missing?
I think it's more societal and it's more
Well, you
cultural.
just said
I
the
would-
government shouldn't be part of
100%.
it. So when you say societal,
The
how so?
president would have more power right now with the bully pulpit than any form of legislation. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that what RFK represents for so many people that support him, he represents a cultural shift that will have more power than any form of legislation. It's just like my political views. I do not believe in democracy. I believe in a consumerocracy. F the laws, f the politicians, f the legislation. They will fail us regardless of which party it is, okay? But right now, we could change the world if we all went out there and we made different consumer decisions. You don't have to have one president change. You don't have to have one law change. This goes viral right here. People start talking about a consumerocracy. The world changes. Laws, politicians, legislations will never have that power. You are trying to fight a problem with force when the solution is power. And we have to shift from that.
Can I ask you something real quick? Just because
I don't know about
before
that
we shift
entirely.
topics, I think it's important. A lot of what you're saying, I want to say back to you, and you tell me if I'm seeing your point well, is that individual responsibility
see what kind of
here
watch
more
that is. I
important
think that's an
than
AP.
Societal responsibility for keeping people healthy. I respect your viewpoint. Now, this is my viewpoint, and tell me what part of this you disagree with. I think individual responsibility is incredibly important. I try and instill that in all my patients. That exercise is important. I try all different strategies to try and get them individually motivated. But from a societal perspective, let's, for example, say we make a city more walkable. We make lighting more available, especially at night. We create more sidewalks. We make more parks. We create programs for kids to participate in after-school sports programs. Those are societal things that politicians can get behind. Don't you think that will make it easier for individuals to be healthy?
All of the money that you're advocating for and you're criticizing RFK Jr. for cutting in the budget, none of that money went to those things.
When you
if you
diabetes
told me,
prevention, how do you think we think?
So
diabetes prevention.
Well, let me ask you this. How many people have diabetes right now? Has the number gone up since that program's been in effect for the past 30 years? So the question is, when is enough enough? The definition of insanity
good point.
is to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results.
So I would fall in this range here. Damn, 45 to 64, that's insane. And then it goes even up after 65. That has to be like, yeah, type 2 diabetes, because I have type 1, which means your pancreas just shuts down and stops working. I remember when I got diabetes, we were literally driving to see my grandparents, and it was roughly like a 15-hour car ride. We're just driving along, you know, everything's normal, going on our way. And then we would stop, you know, occasionally get some food or whatever, like McDonald's, whatever was quick. We had little snacks from the house too, we would have. And then I'm pretty young. I think I was 7 to 9 years old. I don't remember my exact age, but I was somewhere around there in age. And we're driving, like, going. And I'm eating McDonald's, drinking full sugar soda, you know, drinking Gatorades, stuff like that. And going, I was just so thirsty. And we'd stop to pee like every 5 seconds, and my dad would get mad. And so we're going, and then we're finally and I'm getting sick. Like, I feel really bad. I'm drinking water. I'm like so thirsty, like unrealistically thirsty. I could have just had a gallon jug of water like hooked up to my mouth, and it wouldn't have been enough. And then I'd go pee immediately, keep drinking water, pee, like endless cycle. And then eventually I started throwing up, getting really sick. We were at my grandparents' house. My mom's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I've never seen anything like this. My grandma's like, oh, I think you need to take him to the hospital. And they took me, and then I like freaking basically passed out in the waiting room. And I remember like waking up with things like hooked in me and whatever. And then they're like, yeah, you have diabetes. And I'm like, what's that? And then, yeah, I mean, that was a long time ago, but the numbers keep going up. And then type 2, you get from being overweight, generally more unhealthy lifestyle, like usually more people that are fatter generally are like associated with type 2 diabetes. Not always, but I would say majority of the time. And it's something to do with like the foods you eat. I think it's like shuts down your pancreas, which produces insulin for your body, which is what my pancreas doesn't work anymore. And I think it's due to that, like some of the increase here, because it doesn't say type 1 or type 2 in any of these, just says total diabetes. So I think type 1 is often called juvenile diabetes because usually it happens when you're younger. So I would say this age range, you could basically would have type 1 and type 2, but I would say these ones here, basically only type 2. Maybe not only, but a vast majority, like 99% at least. So that is pretty interesting. That shows lifestyle that I was talking about previously. It's just like, oh yeah, well, we're going to stuff our face with cake and, you know, fattening food and this and that. We're not going to eat vegetables, and we're not going to eat lean protein. We're just going to eat fat. We're just going to eat a lot of fat, a lot of sugar. It's going to be great. And then we're going to get a lot of diabetes. Yeah. 95% confidence interval. Diabetes.org. Let's see what they say. Here we go. Look at this. 2000, 15.3 adults from 20 to 79 years old had diabetes. 15.3 million in year 2000. 11 years later, 23.7 million. And 2024, 38.5 million. And then in 1 year, oh, sorry, no, this is predicted. Okay, my fault. So literally here, 11 years, we have an extra, what is that? Like 8.4 million people that have it. And then 13 more years. I wish they would have done like equal increments of time here, but yeah, I mean, that's a lot. And I think the reason type 1 diabetes is around, I think it's a lot of it is due to things that are potentially in the food or like plastic, microplastics. I've seen another documentary where it's been shown that microplastics do cause a lot of problems like terminal illnesses and things like that. And we just have that everywhere that you go. It's like insanely difficult to avoid that. But yeah. And then the interesting thing about this too here is that I know for sure recently from here to here, the total US population has gone down. So that would mean that this as a percent of total Americans would go up. Like the percentage of Americans that have diabetes in this age range would be much higher. So 9% of Americans here, 14% in 2024. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, isn't it? Like 5% increase.
Is it also
has
insanity to say, since this failed, better not do anything and cut it all together?
He's not saying better not do
He
anything.
cut it in half.
Okay, but is he doing nothing?
Yes.
No,
Tell me what he's
he's
done
not
to
doing nothing.
encourage people to exercise.
Okay, what about the law in Texas that he passed with, I forget exactly what it was, but he's going around, he's essentially using what would be considered his bully pulpit, and he's trying to inspire people and make cultural changes. And ultimately,
But
that's
he can
going
be
to
an
be more
inspirational
powerful.
figure and not be the head of Health and Human Services.
So it's really simple. Where has legislation gotten us? We take all of our time, all of our energy, and all of our budget, and we put it into legislation.
it's been ineffective.
And here's the deal. Whether you want to admit it or not, when you have something like pharmaceutical companies funding 70% of research,
Do you
okay?
think junk food is healthy?
No.
Do you think burgers and fries are healthy?
Not at all.
Why in the first month that Secretary Kennedy was put into office, he's sitting at a Steak and Shake talking about how brave it is that they're frying the beef tallow?
do not. Well, first of all, putting fries in beef tallow actually is not unhealthy.
But it's not about whether or not it's unhealthy. Do you think sitting at a Steak and Shake, one of the leading contributors
I
to
do
our
not-
obesity epidemic,
I do not agree. I do
was
not.
that valuable?
I do not agree with everything that he's done. I also.
What do you agree with besides?
Yeah, that's fair. It probably shouldn't be sitting at a Steak and Shake like, oh yeah, let's eat some milkshakes and we got a beef tallow here and got all this fatty meat and French fries. Yeah, let's see that. Yeah, definitely. That's not a great look.